Disclaimer: do not attempt any of these practices in real life. This is a realistic roleplay. Always consult a professional before dealing with equines. With that being said, please enjoy the video. Hello, my name is Savannah Sparrowwolf, and today I thought I'd film a little bit of a vlog for all of you. I've never been able to get a horse for myself, but I recently got a new job, and with the help of my awesome half-sister Linda, I can finally afford to lease one. Special thanks to Linda, not only for chipping in with some of her own money to help me afford one, but also for coming along and filming the whole thing for me. My budget is 25,000 Jorvik shillings, which isn't a lot, but I hope I can find a good eventing horse within that. Let's get started! The first horse was being stabled at Starshine Ranch, which isn't too far from where we live in Fir Grove, so Linda and I walked there for some nice exercise. Going into it, I was really nervous. I've only ever ridden English, but Starshine is a Western-oriented ranch. Linda said she didn't notice until I mentioned it, but I was scared that I wouldn't be able to control the horse we were looking at because she was originally trained for Western disciplines, but thankfully that wasn't the case. The horse we were taking out was a 12-year-old American quarter horse mare named Luna. She's going for 20,500 shillings, so it is in my budget. I saddled her up and was still really jittery, but after I got on her, all of those nerves kind of went away. She was a very responsive horse and kept a nice, steady pace the whole time. I loved riding her, though I noticed that she kept her head very low. This is fine for Western disciplines, but in English riding, heads are typically held much higher. She was great, though, and I really enjoyed riding her. Changed directions. She started off on the wrong lead, as you can see here, but I dropped her down to the trot quickly and she corrected herself. There were no jumps in the arena, so I asked Josh, one of the riders at Starshine, if there was anywhere I could try out her jump. He said just to use one of the Fir Grove cross-country tracks, and I did. Luna did very well for a horse that was trained for Western riding. Thankfully, nothing happened, as I wasn't wearing a safety vest. Don't follow my example, kids. Safety first. After that, I rode her back at a nice walk, and I got some GoPro footage of it. After that, I untacked her, and then Josh asked if we wanted to take her out to graze for a bit. I agreed, as the next horse we were looking at today wasn't for another hour, and I led her out to the field to graze while Linda and I talked for a bit. We both agreed that Luna wasn't the horse for what I was looking to do, and so we returned Luna to her stall. After that, we said our final goodbyes and headed back to Fir Grove Village for a quick bite to eat before we headed to the next two horses, which were at Silverglade Equestrian Center. They had a no-camera policy. Thankfully, there was nothing for the arena as long as there were no other riders in there. The only people there were me, Linda, and Mandy, a riding instructor there just for supervision. This is Mickey, and he is a 14-year-old Welsh quarter mix. He's going for 17,250 shillings, but the owners are willing to negotiate the price. When we arrived at the stable, Mickey was not in a very good mood. He bit me and attempted to kick Linda, though she moved out of the way in time. With the help of some of the stable hands, I got him tacked up, and we brought him down to the riding hall. He's a very stubborn pony. Once you're in the canter, if he weren't jumping, he would break and start trotting again. It took a lot of work to keep him steady, and while I enjoy a good challenge, I wasn't having much fun riding him. He had smooth gaits when he was listening, though. At one point, he refused, but I turned him around and he went over it the second time without issue. Despite his stubborn temperament, the majority of our ride went without major complications. However, at the end, he refused again and actually began rearing. Surprisingly, I didn't fall off immediately. I stayed on for a while, but I did eventually fall. Thankfully, neither of us got hurt as I ended up landing on my feet. Even though I wasn't hurt, I led him back to Mandy and explained what happened. I wasn't comfortable riding him as I felt he was an aggressive, out-of-control pony. Mandy explained that he wasn't trained well as a foal, and while their trainer did the best they could, he's still a bit crazy. She told me just to lead him out of the arena and one of the stable hands would come and take him from me. After that, I returned to the stable for the next horse there. He's an 8-year-old purebred Lipizzaner gelding. His name is Sterling, and he is leasing for 40,500 shillings. Pretty far out of my price range, but I was surprised he wasn't going for more. This horse was an absolute dream to ride. He had a very strong head, so at times it was a bit difficult to control him, but other than that, he was amazing. Sterling had very even, steady gaits. As I rode him, I felt like royalty. Sterling was so powerful underneath me, and everything about him was amazing. He is definitely worth every shilling. He has a very collected, smooth canter and has the ability to fix my mistakes. Even if he weren't completely straight coming into a jump or the timing was a bit off, he fixed it himself. Speaking of jumping, he was so graceful going over jumps. Call me cheesy, but I feel like I was flying when I was riding him. Linda said I looked pretty amazing on him too. They let me onto one of their private cross-country tracks as well. They said they would let me out with Mickey, except he was too unpredictable of a pony to be out with a rider that doesn't know him very well. Fair enough. Anyway, Sterling did spectacularly on the trail. He did everything I asked and didn't bat an eye at anything, not even the bridge. His gaits are so smooth and powerful, and when I asked him to slow, he collected himself immediately. I didn't want to part with Sterling, so the stable hands let me air him out myself. If I do end up leasing him, I know for certain that he is worth it. After that, we drove to the Fort Pinta docks and took a ferry to Cape West. The ferries also have a no-camera policy in place, which is fine, but I didn't get any footage of that. When we arrived, there were no cars allowed on the long bridge, so we had to walk all the way across. I don't mind little exercise, but Linda complained a little bit. Finally arrived at Golden Leaf Stables. I chatted with Ewa for a bit, who's actually an old friend of mine from junior high, and then I went and got the next horse from the pasture. The horse for lease at Golden Leaf Stables is Buttermilk, a 10-year-old Irish sport horse mare. She was going for 22,000 Jorvik shillings, so she is in my budget as well, and Ewa said the owners were willing to negotiate prices. I got some more GoPro footage of the beginning. Buttermilk, just like her name, was the sweetest little sport horse I've ever met. Iwa informed me that she had a fairly sensitive mouth, so I was careful not to pull too hard on the reins. After we rode around for a bit, Iwa set up some jumps for us. The jumps he set up were incredibly high, but Buttermilk cleared them easily. Iwa mentioned that she was a hunter jumper, but that she was also very smart and adapted easily to new things and new disciplines. We then tried out some of the cross-country jumps that were set up, and it was so amazing. Buttermilk did very well, though she did pull every so often to go faster. In spite of this, though, she still obeyed my commands and didn't break into a fast gallop. As a reward, when we got to an open stretch of beach, I let her have free rein and gallop as much as she pleased. It was fun for the both of us, I must admit, as she is much faster than I expected her to be. When it was time for me to collect her, she listened, and I slowed down without much of a fight. Even though I could tell she was fairly tired, she kept up a steady forward gait at all times, though she did fall back into a walk for a moment as we were returning. Though I didn't really want to, I did dismount her. She stood still as I got off and waited for me to lead her to the barn. Ewell said I could untack and brush her, and I was very excited about that. Linda will tell you how sad I was to leave. Buttermilk was such an amazing horse, and let me tell you, I was prepared to sign the documents then and there. But, as Linda reminded me, we still had 2 other horses to check out. Before we hopped on another ferry, we stopped at one of our favorite cafes in all of Jorvik to get cinnamon rolls. That cheered me up about leaving Buttermilk, that's for sure. We had such a great time at the cafe that we almost missed our ferry to the Harvest Counties. Now, if I was nervous about going to Starshine Ranch, think about how nervous I was going to the most prestigious riding academy in all of Jorvik. That's right, the next horse was at Jorvik Stables. Linda told me I was practically shaking as we walked in. When we got there, Coco, the horse I was looking at, was already tacked up and ready to go. A boy around my age named Stein was there to greet me, and he told me to walk Coco around the arena before getting on him. Coco is only 5 years old, so he's still relatively green and isn't used to meeting new people yet. Coco is an English thoroughbred gelding, going for 24,410 shillings and negotiable. Just walking him around, I could tell how bright-eyed and energetic he was. After I actually got on him, he was ready to go. His gaits were very bouncy and forward, which I actually quite liked. Coco was really eager to move, and once we got into the canter, it was really difficult to keep him collected, though I believe that will get better with time. One small downside to Coco is because he is so young and green, he'd have to be stabled at Jorvik Stables for at least a couple more months before I could take him home. Despite that, he was really fun to ride, and his bounciness and seemingly endless energy just added to his adorable little personality. After that, I asked Stein if there was a place where I could jump with him. He said the lower arena was occupied by the riding students, but the Yarlisons had a paddock that they liked to set up with horse jumps. I followed that up with asking how he wanted me to bring Coco over there, and he said I could gallop if I wanted. So I did, and let me tell you, it was so much fun to gallop with Coco. I could tell that he loved running, and I think it got a little bit of his energy out. I've never had as much fun just galloping with any horse than when I had with Coco. We made a few wrong turns, but we eventually made it to Paddock Island. It took a little bit to get him to slow down, and I probably should have started collecting him earlier, but I did eventually get him back under control. Unfortunately, Linda didn't get any footage of the actual jumping course, but Bob was really kind and set up the course no problem. After we were finished, I thanked him for letting us use his course and rode Coco back to Jorvik's stables at his night trot. I think he wanted to run back, but I didn't want to tire him out too much. When we returned from our ride, I handed Coco back over to Stein and told him how amazing Coco was and how much fun I had when galloping on him. We said goodbye, and then Linda and I began our walk home. Linda teased me, saying that I was blushing, which I totally was not. Anyway, we got on the ferry and arrived at South Hoof, where the last horse was. This next horse to rescue, her name is Snow, and she is a 15-year-old Silfrosse. Is that how you say that? I'm not really sure how you pronounce that horse breed, but I'm going to go with Silfrosse. I don't know. She was rescued from her abusive owners back in 2018, but she still hasn't fully recovered. Poor Snow was taught to do difficult dressage moves and cruel methods, and her riders would drug her before competitions just so they could win. You told me that as a result of this, she had a really sensitive mouth and was skittish, especially towards humans. Despite these setbacks, though, she was a sweet horse. He told me to spend some time brushing her and bonding with her before I got on her. Snow was really nervous around me at first, but I spent a good 15 or so minutes bonding with her, and she seemed to be warming up to me. Since she was treated so horribly by her old owners, her mouth was so messed up and sensitive that she couldn't wear bits comfortably. Hugh loaned me one of the bosals they have at the rescue to use, but if I do decide to lease Snow, I'd have to buy one for myself. When I first got on her, she was in the paddock with the gates open. This way, she wouldn't feel confined to a tight space, but if she freaked out, someone could close the gates and we wouldn't have to worry about a panicking horse running wild. After I mounted, I sat on her for a bit so she could get used to my weight before asking her to walk. After we started walking, I immediately fell in love with her gaits. She was bred for dressage and trained for dressage, so all of her gaits were smooth and collected. Snow did break a couple of times, but I made sure to be calm and patient with her, as I knew she had suffered a lot of trauma when she was younger. Hugh told me that they worked with her in regards to dressage moves, and Snow no longer associated them with her abusive owners. He encouraged me to try a few out, and I was blown away by how well Snow performed them. Afterwards, I made sure to give her lots and lots and lots of praise. Finally, Hugh mentioned that they didn't have any jumps to the rescue, but there was a stretch of fence I could jump over. So I brought Snow over there and tried her out. Unfortunately, her jump was really awkward. She had been trained as a dressage horse, and therefore her jumping skills were lacking. I was kind of disappointed, as Snow was an excellent horse. After that, I chatted with Hugh for a bit before untacking Snow and turning her out in the paddock. That is all for today's video. Let me know in the comments which horse you think I should lease. We saw a lot of great horses today, and I don't know which horse I want. I had a lot of fun making this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure just to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the like button. Also, let me know if you'd like to see more realistic vlogs. Anyway, see you in the next video. Bye!